Hi, I'm Catherine Martinez-Schoof, and this is my dissection of a sheep brain. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to identify all the parts on the sheep brain, or any brain. So a sheep brain and a human brain are very similar, except for the sheep brain, their lobes, particularly their frontal lobe, is much smaller, as you might imagine. So we're going to talk about, so this is the top if you're looking at it from down, so like down at your head. So there are three main parts that we want to talk about. This is the cerebrum, and this is responsible for your higher mental function. And the cerebrum is separated into hemispheres, a left and a right hemisphere. So that's this part right here. And then this is the cerebellum, and this is responsible for your balance and coordination. And then we have the brainstem, which is responsible for your involuntary movements and reflexes and things like that. So those are the three main parts here. The cerebrum is divided into two parts, the left and right hemisphere. And between them, you can see there's like a little line here. This is a deep, so I'll back up. The brain has ridges on it. As you can see, there's the black ones and the white ones. So this one's kind of flat and you can't see it here, but on a plump brain, on a plump brain, there are dips and ridges and valleys to your brain, and they have names to them. So like all the white parts are supposed to be a little bit raised, and those are the ridges, and they're called gyri. And then all these black parts, if it was bigger and more, plump is a weird word. If it were bigger, fatter, I like that, fatter. All these black parts right here would be actually dips, and those are called sulci, or what those called. So this middle part right here is just a deeper sulci. So it goes deep down and then comes back up, and it separates the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And its name is called, actually when it's that deep, they're called fissures. And so it's called the latitudinal fissure. And then if you see here, there's a fissure here that goes right there, and that's called the transverse fissure. So that's what we see on this side. And then if we flip it around, so we're looking at it as if we're coming from the neck up. We see here, so we still have the cerebrum right here, and then this would be the cerebellum and the brainstem. But on the back here, what you can also see is we have the olfactory lobes right here. So that's where you smell. So that's your smell. Okay, so on a sheep, they're actually bigger than on a human because, as you can imagine, a sheep smell is part of their survival. But that's what that is right there. And right above it, you can maybe see it. It's a little X right here. And that's where the ocular nerves crisscross. So when you see, so when you look into your eyes, you look through them, and there are nerves that come from the back of your eyes, and then they crisscross in your brain area, and then they send signals. So they crisscross, you can see it, you kind of see it. There's one piece, and there's the other piece right there. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so we've got that. It's actually called the optic chiasm. You're fine. It's called the optic chiasm right here. And so these are the olfactory bulbs. And then we've got, you can kind of see the brainstem here. So there's the pons right here, and the medulla oblongata, and then the brainstem. Okay, and I got ahead of myself a little bit. So turning back to this side, the brain has different lobes to it. So we've got the frontal lobe right here, and that has to do with your personality. So like if you get smashed here, there's a lot of personality things that can happen. And then we've also got the parietal lobes, which are the two right here, and they have to do with spatial relationships. Spatial, like when you see someone in an airport trying to stick a bag into the overhead bin and it doesn't quite fit, and it's spatial reasoning, they're not seeing that they go together. It's kind of like that. You can't see, it's spatial awareness. Okay, so that's that part. That's the parietal. Back here is the occipital, and that has to do with your vision. So if this is damaged, you can suffer from vision loss. And then down here, there are two lobes that are your, you can kind of see them if we look into this fissure. Right here and right here are your temporal lobes. And those have to do with taste and hearing, face and word recognition, and a lot of memory loss. So we've got the frontal, the parietal, the occipital, and the temporal lobes. And they actually coincide with the names of the bones on top of them when you form your skull, which is kind of cool. Okay, so now we are going to cut it open and we're going to look at it inside it. So we're going to do a sagittal cut. It's okay. You can close your eyes. We're going to do a sagittal cut through the longitudinal fissure right here. Okay. All right. Do you want to see, Kai?
Sure.
I'm done cutting. All right, so this is the inside of the brain. It's okay. You can come over here if you want. Okay, so this is the inside of the brain. And the things that we're going to look at here. So the occipital lobe that deals with your balance and coordination when we put it together. This part right here. That's this part here. And if you look really closely, it looks like branches of a tree. They just like spread out like branches. They have... You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so they're branches of a tree. So the couple of things that I want to note, let's see, which one of these is better for it? Okay, we're gonna say it's this one. There are ventricles inside the brain. So there's 4 of them, and they're essentially 4 holes inside the brain. So there's one here, there's one here, and one somewhere else. One here, and I don't know where the other one is, but there are 4 of them. And essentially what the ventricles do is they have cerebral spinal fluid that goes through them. And their job is to make sure that the spinal fluid gets to all the parts of the brain. And then the other part that you're gonna wanna see, so when they were put together, there's a deep fissure, the longitudinal fissure, and eventually it comes to an end, because the left and right side of the brain have to talk to each other. And they talk to each other through what's called the corpus callosum. And it's this right here, this piece right here that comes at the top. This top part, let's see if it's better on this one. Yeah, maybe. This top part right here, I like this one better, is the corpus callosum, and it's the piece that comes back and forth between both sides. And then the bottom part of it is called the fornix. And then, so those are the 2 parts right there. And then inside this, there's a part you couldn't see before. This right here, this is your thalamus. And this is responsible, it relays information. And then down here is your hypothalamus. And your hypothalamus is responsible for like circadian rhythm and knowing your body temperature and stuff like that. That's what the hypothalamus is. So then the other part we're gonna look at, let's see which one's better for this. We're gonna do this one. You can still see, so there's midbrain, and then the brain stem goes into your brain. It goes whoop, right into there. And so we've got the pons right here. Let's see, pons. And then we've got the medulla oblongata, and then we've got the spinal cord. So that's that part. And then, so there are parts here, if you notice, let's see, we're gonna cut one of these open a little bit more. You're okay, it's good. All right, let me make sure I got everything that I need to talk about. For that part, okay, we're gonna cut a piece. I'll tell you when I'm done. All right, so this is the next piece here. I'm done. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm done. Okay, so when we're looking at this, we're looking for the hippocampus, and it's in here. Let's see. Maybe it's easier. You gonna close your eyes again? You're okay. Okay. All right. It's really funny. They call it a jelly roll to look for it. So the hippocampus is in here. You can see like that little roll right there. And that's what's used for the emotional state and memory processing. So that's what that is. And in a brain, if you look closely, you can see how some of it is light and some of it's dark, okay? Okay, so that's white matter and gray matter. And so that's what the brain has. So your brain has neurons that fire, and they essentially take all the information from one place to the other. And the white matter it's kind of like, if this is your neuron, it's got like a protective layer on it. It's called, it's called myelinated axons. So it essentially is like a wire with coating on it versus a wire without coating on it. Does that make sense? It makes it go faster, it conducts it better. So that's what that is. And I think those are all of the things that we needed to talk about on the brain. Do you have any questions? No? You're good? Is it as disgusting as you thought it was going to be?
No.
Oh, good. That's great. Okay. And I think that's the end.